Welcome. This 5-part interview series is devoted to Savannah's 6th District City Alderman Tony Thomas. In it, there are first-hand accounts of his alcohol abuse, drug abuse, stolen valor, lies, mismanagement of City of Savannah funds, and overt sexual predatory behavior. If you are also a victim of Tony Thomas, please reach out to us. Only your testimony can help shed a brighter light on what has occurred over the last 20-plus years to an estimated 200 young boys. Forever scarred, many beset with lifelong alcohol drug abuse problems and the mental anguish of being the unwilling victim of an expert sexual groomer and abusive predator. These are the Chronicles.
I first met Tony Thomas at the movie theater on Largo and Abercorn. It's not there anymore. It is now a Office Depot or Office Max or Staples. There used to be a Terra Cinema right there. And I was in line with some friends of mine to go see a movie. And he was in line and bought all of our tickets to go see the movie. And got to talk about summer work and what I was going to do for summer work, and that's how I met Tony.
The predator may offer the young man or old boy summertime work.
When I met Tony, I was getting ready to turn 15 years old. He offered me part-time employment. He offered me general maintenance, like lawn care, at the it was a pool on the south side. It was the Windsor Forest Community Pool, and I did landscaping, weed eating, mowed the grass, and then I also did it same work over at his house.
The child doesn't know that he is being made more vulnerable, but the child is very vulnerable. At this point, the parents or the caretakers already have faith in this person. They've had months or years to get used to his presence. Nothing untoward is happening, and the perpetrator uses that to establish more of a space between the child and the adult who is responsible for him. One thing that almost all of them do is to get the child to do something a little bit naughty.
He would always ask, he'd pick you up and he'd go, well, let me take you over here. I'm going to buy, you need some clothes. I'm going to take you, carry you over here and get you a new shirt. Or it was, what do you want? Just pick something you want or you want right now and I'll go get it for you. And it just, progressed. It was just anything you could ever want, he would get it for you. And when it came down to it, he'd always say, all right, now I went and got you something. You better go give your daddy some sugar. And, he like, come on, give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. And so you'd have to lean over there and kiss him or all hell would break loose.
It's a progression, and it's very intentional to the point that the child can't really feel comfortable saying no and isn't sure where his quote boundaries are. He can't say no. He thinks he's doing the right thing.
If you didn't do something that he wanted, he wouldn't pay you.
The perpetrator will set him up for it and then know that, and that'll be their little secret. So the child and the perpetrator have something special that's a secret that mom and dad don't know.
It first turned sexual when I was 15 years old. I was at BC and he, picked me up and I went to do my yard maintenance. And then he said, we were riding around and he just put his hand over on my leg. And, I put his hand away and he grabbed my hand and he made me keep my hand on his leg and his hand on my leg. That's how it all started. And if you went to move it, then he stopped the car and was like, what are you doing? I said, put your hand on my leg.
And he'll move slowly to establish a physical contact, an arm around the shoulders. is something that everybody usually likes and wants, especially a lonely kid or a misunderstood kid will really relish that touch. And then the perpetrator moves slowly into further touches and uses his ways to make the child feel that they can't say no.
It kind of quickly escalated from there. I remember the first time it became sexual. I was 15 years old, and I was over at his house, and I was doing general yard maintenance, and I was done, and I was waiting for him to give me a ride back to my house, and went inside. He offered me a glass of Coke, and was sitting down, and he just he came over and said, "Well, before I take you home, you gonna give your daddy some sugar?" And I was like, "No, I need to get home." He was like, "Well, you need to do something for me, because I do a lot for you." And then he just said, "I'm gonna suck your dick right now, or I'm not taking you home." You know, he'd say, "You ever tell anybody about this? I was a United States Army Ranger. I'll kill you." He gave me a Ranger coin. And, you know, everybody that he was around was like, "Oh, yeah, Tony was, you know, he was in the military." Yes, very scared. And you couldn't tell anybody because you didn't want him to kill you. Just same stuff repeated. And then he had, you know, as it progressed through the months and years, it just got worse, and I saw more and more young kids. And, you know, once you got to a certain age, then he was done with you, and he found him another one. Tony would, a lot of times, you would go downtown. I don't drink, so I would always drive. And we would go from basically bar to bar, and he would target young military guys, people with spouses, girlfriends, whatever, and he would just buy everybody drinks, get them completely schnockered, and then the next thing you know, I've got the girl, and he's got the boyfriend, and then they wake up in the morning, and then the guy's like, "What happened to me? Where's my girlfriend?" On the couch. And, you know, I had friends, and we would all go out with Tony, and Tony would use those girls to go get other guys to bring them to him. And another way that he would target young guys is he put a help wanted sign up at BC. All the schools had a help wanted sign. Call 912-507-1011. Part-time work. Good pay. I did see a lot of girls that would openly help him find boys. They knew that Tony liked guys. They just didn't know what his scheme was or what he was up to. And they thought it was cool because they could talk to him too, because, you know, they weren't ugly people. They were always good looking, young, well built. Yeah, to my knowledge, Tony's never been with a woman. Everybody that I've seen him with has been, you know, 15, 16, 17, 18. And once you get to 18, next. I've personally witnessed Tony Thomas with about 35 young guys. Young. And I'm not talking guys, I'm talking teenage boys. I've seen Tony Thomas in sexual acts with just about every one of them.
Often a predator will use alcohol or drugs to really make that old boy feel comfortable.
His poison is vodka and cranberry. Yeah. He would just, you know, he'd spend $400 or $500 a night just, you know, on that. Have I ever wondered where the money was coming from? Yes. I've been, you know, to the Savannah Chatham Day, and I've watched Tony run up $1,000 bar tab, and then, you know, the next day call Wells Fargo and dispute the charges. But everybody there that night when Tony was walking around the crowd going, "Oh, get this guy a drink. This one over here needs one on me. Put it on my tab." And, you know, he'd have young guys, young boys at the civic events, League of Cities, Chatham Savannah Day, or Savannah Chatham Day, however you want to say it. Carts them all over the United States. Down to South Florida, that's where he loves to take them because he likes basically the Neverland Ranch down in Orlando, Florida. Mickey Mouse. I've been on several trips, been down to the Keys. I've been down to Disneyland, Atlanta to Savannah Chatham Day. I've been all points in between. I did bus ads worked with Tony's bus ads for many years and have traveled all the Georgia highways and have seen multiple kids in one hotel room in a one large king bed. And Tony go, guys, y'all gonna have to all snuggle in here with Daddy. One time I tried to leave Tony and or get away from his talons.
You're not going to tell the perpetrator that you're leaving him. That just gives him more weaponry. You're going to slide out of that picture and that scenario as soon as you can. If you have to say that your mother's sick, that's okay. If you have to say that somebody needs you at school, that's okay. If you have to say that the priest told you that what's going on is wrong, that's okay. You use whatever you can that does not hurt other people to get you out of that situation. You don't have to think about the predator's feelings. Believe me, he's been there before and he'll do it again.
Wouldn't answer his phone calls. He would show up over at my house, knocking on the door, wondering where I was, why I wasn't coming to work. Just basically stalking me, trying to figure out why I just stopped talking to him. And he was relentless. So finally I was like, what? What do you want? Fine, if you'll leave me alone. He told me he'd make my life a living hell. He'd ruin me if I ever, told anybody or tried to leave.
The typical predator does not use true violence because he's really not a very strong or brave man. He will threaten violence and he will use his connections to strengthen his statements. He may say that he's a tough guy. He may say he has a black belt in karate. He may keep a gun around and never use it, but you always know it's there. The threat is always there, although it doesn't usually happen.
Sexually, Tony likes, he's very dominant and he loves to be in control. He loves to give blowjobs to everybody. He also likes to have multiple kids at the same time, and he, gives them a blowjob and then he demands anal sex. It depends basically on what day it is, what Tony's into, and it can be just simple or it can be the nastiest hardcore thing you've ever never wanted to imagine in your life. A young kid, having Tony just have his way with him. I mean, it just tears you apart. It's like choking almost, even to think about it, because I've witnessed it and I've been to parties and seen him do that to people. Why hasn't anybody ever tried to notify the authorities about Tony? Tony has some very good friends in high places. He's well liked in his district. He's got friends everywhere. He's got basically a circle that he runs with, and they keep him at bay. And the local media is on Tony's side. He's got a couple of reporters that are his right hand buddies, and they like it too. I mean, for Tony, it's a trophy, but he's Teflon Don. And I have been to the FBI, I've been to the GBI, I've done a polygraph test, and everybody knows he's guilty. But the problem is now, he doesn't have a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of, so no attorney will touch it. Well, my out was, I made a phone call, and that was my opportunity to leave. I I never dated Tony Thomas in any way, or anything like that. I was trapped. He paid really well. I mean, it's, you know, you're getting $35 an hour to basically do nothing, you're going to take it. And then I got my opportunity to leave, and I took it, and I haven't looked back since. People that have had a hard time about what has happened to them with Tony Thomas, I know several that are having emotional issues, just completely screwed up in the head. I mean, fucked up. I mean, one poor kid even shot himself in the head. And how he made it through that is by the grace of God, I guess. Where did the money come from? Tony's always got a pocket full of dead presidents. He's always got, you know, well, second-hand Cadillac. Now he's got a newer Cadillac. He's always got plenty of money. It's always at Ruth Chris. And you can't get that on an alderman's salary or just ads on the bus. So it's got to be coming from somewhere. I have some suspicions about where it's coming from. One of them is a wealthy businessman here in Savannah. Yeah, there is a group, and these guys range from 27, 28 to 60. And they are on a little group. They go places, they hang out, they go to Ruth Chris together, they go downtown, they go on trips. They've got lots of money, and Tony finds them young boys, and they like it. Is Tony Thomas a sexual predator pimp? Yes, he is, and he's a very sophisticated sexual predator, and this group that he has, what he does, he finds them, he gets them employed. All his all the people that he employs all come from a troubled home, or don't have a father, or single mother, or a single dad, and he gets these kids. And he spends a little bit of money on them, buying them shirts, buying them clothes, taking them on trips, gets them comfortable, and then he'll start introducing these kids to these other guys at dinners and stuff like that, Ruth Chris, wherever he wants to take them. And then before you know it, Tony's cult member is going, Tony, why don't you bring over little Johnny here, and y'all come watch a movie. And then before you know it, Johnny's been swooped up. In the time that I've known Tony, he has bought me many gifts. He bought me a Tag Heuer watch, suits, tuxedos, clothes, shoes, airplane tickets, hotels, vacations, things that I just wanted to go do on my own, he would pay for, if I really was in a bind. You know, he'd pretty much buy you anything as long as he was getting his way. When I was with Tony, at elected or civic events such as Chatham Savannah or Savannah Chatham Day, I was there with Tony. I was also there with Edna Jackson, the whole city council, Larry Stuber, Mary Ellen Sprague, Mary Osborne, the whole crew. One particular instance, we were sitting in a van, and Edna reached over and grabbed Tony on the shoulder and said, Tony, when are you going to find you someone old enough to drive you home from the bar, darling? And the whole city council and a 12-passenger bus was laughing at Tony. But, you know, Tony's got 4 guys standing shucking oysters at the aquarium, and over there trying to show off everybody, these young guys that he's with. He's not with a girl. They all know why these kids are there. One of the things I regret most is probably, well, what I would say is it was it was a blessing for me as well. But Tony would tell me, say, go over there and I want that sweet baby right over there. That one with the blonde hair. Okay. Well, I'd do anything to get Tony off my damn back. And if that meant giving him somebody else, please. And, you know, I'd go get little Johnny, and I'd say, come on over here, man, hang out with us for a little while. And as soon as Tony had his arm around him, pouring drinks down his throat, I was Audi 5000. I was gone. I didn't want to stick around for that. How did Tony hurt me the most? Well, the first time that Tony hurt me, I had a surprise birthday party and he didn't show up. And that hurt me. That hurt my heart. But, you know, it's probably hurt me the most that I've allowed this shit to go on forever. And it's got to stop. Man, it's got to stop today.
First time I went over there, everything seemed normal. Everything seemed fine. We had dinner, you know, I met his dad. He's lived with his father right there in Bernenberg. And everything seemed normal. And about a week or so later, he invited me to come over one night, and we were doing a lot of drinking that day. He invited me over. There was cocaine, there was alcohol. I mean, I was absolutely wasted. And 17 years old, I mean, you want free liquor and free cocaine, I mean, what 17-year-old wouldn't? But at some point, I ended up passing out. I was sleeping on the couch, and I woke up to Tony performing oral sex on me.